everyone. Week 31 of Lunchtime with Anna. Thank you, everyone. You guys have made this show go so far. I had doubts along the way. There was times where maybe I wanted to quit. And I thank you, each of you. Thank you so much because without you guys, none of this would be possible. None of the things I have going on right now would be possible for the brand. So thank you mwah, to each and every one of you guys. As always, before I start my show, I want to make sure everyone is wearing a mask. You wear a mask not for yourself, not for your health. Well, yeah, you wear that as well, but just think of yourself as a walking time bomb towards others. And you just want to make sure that, you don't get other people sick. You're not doing it for you. You're doing it for others. Okay. Um, so I wanted to go ahead and also tell you guys should know to wash your hands. I wear gloves. Anybody who sees me out in public knows I wear gloves. Normally have my hands closed. Try not to touch anything because I don't want to get contaminate items or vice versa. You can always watch a YouTube video about what is the proper way to use gloves. I want to just make a quick remark to everyone. Please, if you guys hear that you don't need to wear masks, let me tell you guys something. I have medical training. As long as I have known medicine, you have to wear protective gear to protect yourself from diseases and protect the other person. So just so you guys know, gloves and masks is the proper way to do it medically. So if it's in the medical world, the proper thing to do, I'm assuming that people would be smart enough to know to wear a mask and wear gloves, or if not, sanitize often out in the public. I'm just saying, a little birdie told me about a debate last night. Well, let's not get into that. We know about that. That was a wreck yesterday. Anyhow, on to today's show. Today's show is going to be touching in more ways than one. I'm still waiting on my co-host Kira to come in. She might be caught up in something, and that's okay. The show still continues. Greg, I have special guest here, Greg Giles, who is on air, and on the phone I have Bishop Gregory Adams, who is on the phone, and both of them will be touching up on this topic in different ways. Please, you guys, if this is something that touches you in any way, share the stream. If this is something that has happened to you or affected you, please contact me. Maybe we can reach out to different people and maybe find a way to help different men and boys who have been through these situations, because that's the most important when I do these shows. Greg, good afternoon. How are you?
Hey, how are you doing, everybody? How you doing, Anna? It's great being here with Lunchtime with Anna. This is going to be a very interesting topic today.
It is. It is. It is. And for me, this is something that I think is not talked about much. You guys got to think this happens in jails. This happens in prisons. This happens to your sons, cousins, so forth, so on. So, Greg, I'd like for you to start with the best way you know how to tell your story. What is Greg's story? And then we'll go on to ask what it is that you would like out of this. But first, I want to see what's your story, because I know you're limited on time today.
Okay. Well, basically, I said my story is that, even the most successful people in life, you never know what they went through to get that, the trauma, the drama, the issues, the tears, the crying, and all of the sacrifices that they made in order to get where they're at. And, everybody said, man, you got it good. I would love to walk in your footsteps, but, are you actually able to walk in my shoes? You know what I'm saying? Would you be able to deal with the same things that I've dealt with the same way? When I was growing up, my mom and my dad got separated. And when I was a young boy, I never really understood why. But it wasn't until I got older that I realized that, he was actually sexually abusing us. Me, my brothers, my sisters, and and with us being kids, we didn't know that what he was doing was bad. We just know that we loved our father. At such a young age, 2 and 3 years old, you don't know what's going on. You're following in everybody's footsteps. Everything is a learning experience for you. So when you find out that the person that saying you adore the most, that you look up to the most, is actually hurting you, that actually sets you back, for a good bit. So you know, but I just wanted to tell people, that even though as I got older, there were a lot of things that I cried about, that I talked to people about, because of the fact that he was never really there in my life, and I understand why, because he had other issues going on. He never made it to any of my baseball games or anything like that, or any of my basketball games, or any of my track and field things, because I was an all-star athlete. I was great. I even did gymnastics. I got gold medals in gymnastics. I was really outstanding, and it's a shame that he never got a chance to actually, saying uh, see what his son had to offer. But to my thing is that, I didn't let what he did to me affect who I am and who I was going to be. Simply because of the fact that, saying it, I look at it like, um, you know, he has his own demons that he has to deal with. I can't let that be my stopping block or my stop sign to stop me from getting to where I know I'm destined to be. I have to look at this as not necessarily a learned lesson, but an uplifting journey, to where I'm going, because of the fact that I know there are other people out there that have dealt with the similar issues or the same issues, with them being molested or touched, or being, sexually abused as a child. And I think it more happens more likely to women than men. Women are more likely to be abused by people that they know, people that are family members, people that you trust. So that's one thing that when I started raising my kids, I made sure that I would had my eyes were on them all the times where they were in my care, to make sure that that didn't happen to them, because of the fact that it's always the ones that are quiet sometimes, that seem like they're great with kids, they're great with kids because they know how to manipulate the situation. So I tell parents, watch your kids, and we have this thing going on now that's really, really bad with the sex trafficking these little kids, and some and there's so many that are missing, but you know I know that you can't keep your eye on your kids 24 hours a day, but please, saying be know where they are, because sometimes parents, they let the kids run rampant. They could go anywhere, to the store, to the mall, and to the friend's house, and they don't know where they're at. They don't even care, just as long as they get back by a certain time. And that's what we messed up at, because of the fact that these other predators know that everybody's not watching their kids, but they're watching your kids when you're not watching your own kids. And that's how they end up coming up missing, or getting raped or getting molested, because of the fact that sometimes we're not being the protectors that we're supposed to. So I tell people, that have been, molested or touched, or, fondled, or whatever one you want to call it, saying, don't let that be the end of your story. Don't let that stop you from achieving your dreams. Don't let with somebody else's um, insecurities, or failures, or desires stop you from reaching your desires as a woman or a man, because what God has for us is for us. And sometimes we might want things earlier in life, but sometimes they come right when they need to be. Sometimes our story will be the building blocks that makes the next millionaire, because of the fact that we gave him hope, we gave her vision, we gave her, you know, uh, aspirations of that. If he could do it, I can do it. So of course that's why I'm always pushing, because of the fact that if anybody knows my story, I've always been like the backbone, or the person that goes hard whenever things need to be done, because I know that sometimes if I don't do it, it won't get done. So simply, what I went through made me a stronger man, a stronger person, and a more inspired person, to know that I can achieve a lot of things despite what I've been through. I might not look like what I've been through, but sometimes, you know what I'm saying, that but just the drama alone sometimes haunts you like a bad ghost in the background. So sometimes we don't really, kick that ghost off of our back until we face it head on. Sometimes, we like to sweep stuff up under the rug instead of, looking at it for what it is, it is, you know, a tragedy that, certain things happen, but we can't let it stop us.
Absolutely. And Greg, I have a question for you. Just so that the listening audience, there might be a young Greg growing up, or young Greg growing up with his siblings, to then find out later on in life, wow, this whole time I've been getting molested. So obviously, as a child, if you're brought up in this environment, to you, it's normal. It's not anything new, you know? So what did it take for it to finally click into your head? Wait a minute, this is not normal. I was sexually molested, because that's what it is.
Well, it took for me to, when I kept asking my mom about, hey, where's my dad at, because at the time he had been arrested and he had went to prison, um, for the things that he did to us. But it wasn't until I learned that, when I had to meet with all of the detectives and they questioned us and they set us down in rooms by ourselves to see if we were going to tell the same story or was somebody coaching our story and things of that nature. That's when I really realized that, what he was doing wasn't good. And sometimes, uh, because of the fact that you don't know what's right and what's wrong, only what you've been taught was right and what's wrong. So a lot of times that, like I said, you think it's the norm. So you think there's nothing really wrong with it, but it's not until other people bring it to your attention that it is wrong. So, I mean, for the people that are dealing with that right now, and that know that it is wrong, I want you to reach out to somebody, talk to somebody, a friend, a cousin, or family member that you can trust, because sometimes you can't trust, if it's your father that's abusing you, sometimes you can't trust to tell your mom about it if she's really defensive over her husband or her boyfriend. Because sometimes they will choose them over you, so you have to talk to somebody that you know is going to listen to you, somebody that's going to believe you, somebody that has your back and your best interest at heart, so that you can actually get this situation, these things that are going on to you, stopped. And that's the only way that we're going to actually get them stopped, is to actually, tell somebody that's going to pay attention to your story, somebody that's going to listen, somebody that's going to care about, what's going on to you and want this person, justice done to this person, so that they won't hurt anybody else. And that's the whole thing, that because in my stories might be different from everybody else's story. In my story, even though my dad went to prison for what he did, when he got out, it didn't stop. You would think that a person that had gone to prison would actually have changed their ways, changed their thing, the way that they look at life, and turn over a new leaf. But no, I found out that it actually made him worse. He started randomly going out, messing with other kids and stuff. So, I mean, I wish that, they had kept him in there a lot longer, so he wouldn't have ruined the lives that he did. And growing up, with me being a boy, and me being his son, and a lot of people knowing what he did to me, they know that put a lot of other people's guards up when I walked in certain rooms, because they say, is he like his dad? I don't want him around my kids, because sometimes that people that are tampered with end up tampering with other people. But it affected me in a totally different manner. It made me want to protect those that had been abused, opposed to trying to go out and abuse other people. Because sometimes the cycle never stops. Look at the situation with R. Kelly. He was touched when he was a little boy by a female, and now then he started touching other females when he got older and stuff, and the cycle didn't stop, and now he's in prison. So sometimes we have to sort of lock this down and stop this in the beginning stages so that it doesn't affect so many people. Because one person could go out and do this to 200 people, opposed to when they did it to the first person, that first person go ahead and saying, this is what happened to me. This person did this to me. I want to press charges. Or even, even situations where saying it's not the same situation, but for women that are being raped by men, if you go ahead and speak out against that, and let this person know that what they did to you is unacceptable, saying maybe you could stop it then and there so that they won't hurt anybody else. Or,
So,
because, so many people's lives could, have been, totally destroyed by craziness that crazy thoughts that people have in their heads of what they want to do to you. So, I mean, my thing is now is that I heard that California was trying to pass a pedophilia law, saying that pedophilia is just a choice, a lifestyle, a personal preference to who you like to have sex with. And and it's kind of funny that when they were trying to pass that law, all of a sudden all of these fires broke out. And I looked at it like this, God isn't pleased with what you're doing. What I'm saying? They're gonna set California on fire. What I'm saying? But I look at the whole situation where uh, where people don't necessarily listen to what's right and what's wrong, because it's gonna basically boil down in the end. It's gonna be the people that are morally have moral conscience on here. It's going to be a fight between right and wrong, good and bad, and people are going to have to decide, what side they're on. And I can tell you right now, the bad side is not going to win. We got too many good people around us that are going to be fighting to our death to protect our people, our family, and our loved ones. So, but that's a that's a different story.
no, 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 you're fine. Because you have to let it out. And I will tell you guys something, even for me, and I know one thing is not anything like the other, but for me, being the survivor of domestic abuse, talking, which was what I have started within the last year, talking about it is the best thing that a person can do. Internalizing it causes more mental trauma and more issues. So this is why I didn't interrupt you, because I do think that you have to let that out. And I do think that if there's another Greg out there, I hope his voice helps you enough, because from what I'm understanding from all of this, Greg, to you, this was the total norm. You didn't know any better until you got older. How has this affected your personal life, friendships, relationships, so forth, so on? You've already mentioned with your children how it's affected. How has it affected?
Mm. Basically, in my personal life, it hadn't really affected me a whole lot since I've been an adult, because I don't really talk about it a whole lot. Not too many people actually know what happened to me as a child, because of the fact that I don't wear that on my sleeve where people can actually see it. I just let my life, my deeds, and the things that I do for people on a daily basis. Be what inspire them. I like coming on shows like this so that people can know that uh, that might think that or he's living like this, he's doing that, that he I know he didn't have anything like that happen to him. But yes, indeed, a lot of us, a lot of people in the entertainment industry have had certain things to happen to them, but it didn't stop them. Uh,
Absolutely.
they dealt with the issues, they talked to people, and they learned to grow from it. It's like turning a negative into a positive. It's almost like that. That's the situation when they say, let your haters be your motivators. The people that did things to you, uh, take all of that negative and turn it into positive. Take your experience and go talk to other people that have been going through trauma and dealing with that. Be a motivational speaker. Be a big brother, a big sister to kids that need somebody who understands the situation and can help them come out of the shell. Because a lot of people go hide their face and go down on the ground like an ostrich. But it's not time to actually hide your face. It's time to actually stick your chest out and be, not necessarily saying be proud about what happened to you, but let people know that it's not going to stop you. Saying, put your cape on, and be that Superman or Superwoman or Wonder Woman, that that you can be, definitely, uh, keep reaching for higher goals and dreams. It could happen. Um,
Absolutely.
and for the people that are dealing with depression, about the situation, find somebody to talk to. There are a lot of people out there, social workers and people that you could, if there's nobody that as far as family members that you can actually talk to, see a counselor person or a psychiatrist. They're really good because of the fact that until you release that and let it out, saying it's going to be bundled up inside of you like a ball, and sometimes you're going to be angry for no reason, and you're not going to know, and you're going to take it out on people that you love for no reason. So and that's something I don't know you don't want to happen. So just know that if this has happened to you, that it wasn't your fault, but you know what I'm saying. But this is something that you cannot let stop you from achieving your goals and your dreams in life.
Absolutely. Greg, I have Kira online, and Bishop, I do know you're still online. It's just that I know that Greg is very limited on time, so I'm calling on you right next. Give me a few more minutes. Kira, how are you doing today?
Hello, how are you? I just have one question right now. What would you tell a younger you?
That's for you, Greg.
Oh, okay. I would tell a younger me, don't take everything so personal, because when I was a young kid, I took everything personal. All of the setbacks and things that, as far as because I held him on a pedestal, and so a lot of times I went over and beyond to show him that I could be great, and so that he would take interest in me and the things that I did. And he always made empty promises. I'll be there. I promise I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna watch you. And he never showed up. And I took that personal. And that's the one thing that I would tell my younger self. Don't take it personal, because for him it wasn't that serious. And I think that I could have came out of my shell per se a lot sooner, but because of the fact that I was letting that situation get the best of me, I was outstanding. I was so-called quote unquote popular. I was a class clown. I did a lot of stuff for attention, and if you know about certain people and personalities, a lot of times when you're not getting that attention that you want from certain people in your family, whether it be your mother, your father, or your siblings, you're gonna do other things, and act out, to get that attention. Because of the fact that I wasn't getting the attention from my father, I started doing other things to get attention from other people. So my statement that I would say will simply be just uh, uh, be confident in who you are, and walk forward and don't look back sometimes, because of the fact that I used to always reminisce about things that happened in the past, opposed to just looking forward to my future. That would be my one mistake. So
Um, I want to say something, and this goes to both of the fellows that I'm interviewing today. Um, I really admire the both of you. Greg knows that on a personal level, I have a true admiration for him as a friend and as my brother in Christ. Let me tell you guys something. When you talk about a loyal friend, he is one, you know, and that means so much to me. And I just, Greg, especially, because right now I'm currently interviewing you. Thank you for just being just the outstanding soul that you are. Although your father did that ugly thing to you, but like I always say, at the end of the day, all of this is spiritual, right? So, I'm sure you have realized with age, he has his own demons that he's had to fight with. Um, that he's had to fight with. And to this day, maybe you're like, I still need some answers because we're human, right? So I get it because I've had to go through counseling. And I'll tell you guys something. It's funny, and these are jokes that they say, you know, when you do have to go see a counselor, psychologist, whatever you want to call them, that they'll ask you how you're doing, and you got all these ideas in your mind. How are you going to tell them how you're feeling? And this is before your healing actually happens, and you're just like, once you sit in front of them, you're like, zip, and you just sit there, and you're just like, have nothing to say, not a word. So I totally get it. I've had to go through all those different stages, and it's just hilarious when I look at it now because it's like I was there, you know? But God is so good, and God has walked you through this. And let me tell you guys something. Greg has done mighty well for himself. And my friend, a huge round of applause to you for being an outstanding man, an outstanding father, an outstanding husband, maybe one and a friend, maybe one that's just too good and too loyal to people, you know? And I personally, because I know you on a personal level, I thank you for being the great person that you are and how you have overcame all of that. Kira, do you have any other questions for Greg for now?
I don't have any questions at the moment, but I do have a comment just in terms of the information that you provided, the light that you shed, and the light that you share. I've, of course, met you before. And I just want to say it takes a lot of courage to, share things like this, no matter what age you are, or male, female, whatever. It takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of backbone to be able to do that. So hopefully,
Yes.
in you telling your story and sharing, what you've shared, you've inspired other people, to seek help and to get help. So I just want to say thank you for that, because a lot of times we could be in a room with someone and not know what they're going through. A lot of times we can, be sitting right next to somebody and judge them based on, whatever we see, not, taking a step back or taking a opportunity to actually even speak to them. So I just, again, want to say thank you, because it's definitely needed in all communities across the board.
Absolutely.
For people just, even be able to see, okay, well, I'm not the only one that's been through this or something similar or whatever the case may be. So just thank you.
Yes, and I feel the same way, Greg. And if you could, before you leave, because I know you have to leave now, could you please, in case there's another young man or a man that would actually like to contact you and speak with you, have them contact you. Are you willing to give them your information or what
Yeah,
information
sure.
you have?
Yeah, sure. I don't have a problem with that because I'm like an open book. That's one thing that keeps me grounded because of the fact that, I don't try to hide anything. It is what it is. I don't try to be more than what I am, saying, where I'm at in life is where I'm at. I'm not trying to be up here, saying I'm not saying I'm down there, but I'm right where I'm at. Everybody's, has a particular time in life where they're, in a process, a lot of certain people, try to brag about what they have or, or try to be more than what they are. No, I'm not, it is what it is. I'm not going to put on, a facade of, who I am. I just try to be me. For anybody that wants to reach me, you can reach me at 678-824-2787. That's 678-824-2787. You can always reach me there, and I'll be glad to talk to you.
Thank you so much. And Greg, thank you so much for taking out of your time. Give me a call whenever you want. And thank you. That story was touching. And I know that through these streams, it is touching another young man or another man out there. And thank you, because it takes a tougher man to come forward and say, this happened to me. I just really appreciate you taking out of your time.
Not a problem. I really enjoyed being on the show.
God bless you. Our next guest is Bishop Gregory Adams. Bishop, are you on air?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
God bless you, Bishop. How are you doing?
I'm blessed. I'm wonderfully blessed by the Lord. I was enjoying Greg's story and how he went through what he went through and how he did not allow that to keep him down or keep him stunted, that he could not move forward and grow. And I love that testimony. I didn't have the experience of being molested as a child by a family member, but you're dealing with the topic today, and you and I talked a little bit about it last night, touch bases on it as it relates to my experience with sexual assault. While I was in the military, I friended a soldier, and when I was in back then, they had a don't ask, don't tell policy. So, you know, the guy and I would sit around and talk. We talk about our girlfriends, and you know, we both had I had a baby anyway by my girlfriend, and he showed me his little baby supposedly. But he invited me to a party that was off base, and I got there. I can recall the day. I can recall everything that transpired. And when I got there, I said, "Man, I hear the music." I said, "Where the people at?" And he said, "When you're the first one here, you know, they're gonna come." And he carried on like there's supposed to be some nice looking girls coming, and then he asked me if I want something to drink, and I said, "Sure, give me a drink." And somehow or another, he apparently laced the drink with a knockout drug. And I was wondering. He kept asking me. He said, "How do you feel?" I said, "I'm fine. Why you keep asking me?" And shortly thereafter, few minutes or seconds or so passed by, I became lethargic and I couldn't move. So whatever he gave, it paralyzed me to the extent that he at that point then took advantage of me. Now, what people don't understand, and this is not a story that any man or woman like to tell when they become a victim of sexual assault. There is a lot of guilt. There's a lot of shame. We blame ourselves for how I allow myself to become a victim, and that becomes very traumatic. So during that time, you know, being in the military, being young, I didn't know to file a report. I didn't want nobody to know what happened, so I kept it ball within. I got married. I rushed into a marriage. At the time, I was not quite ready for a marriage, but I had to validate myself as a man. So, you know, I went on and got married. Then getting married, I became addicted to alcohol. And alcohol was my drug of choice.
And so, Bishop, just and I'm sorry, I'm kind of interrupting you because there was a lot that was said. You go to what's supposed to be a party. You get once you get to the party, you think there's guests coming, especially women, because you're young, you're a military guy. I know how it is. My dad was military, so I grew up in the lifestyle. I get it. So you're thinking you're gonna see a whole bunch of beautiful honeys, and no honeys ever show up. Your drink was laced with, I can imagine, GHB or something like that, what they call the date rape drug. You get taken advantage of. Then all this time you never seeked any type of mental help, I'm sure, because of your embarrassment. Is it fair to say that?
Oh, yeah, that's correct. Because of the embarrassment, I never wanted to say anything, and I wanted to move forward with my life. And but like I said, I became dependent on alcohol, and that was my vice. That gave me comfort, gave me solace, as though I was drinking the problem away. And as long as I was drunk, I didn't have to worry about the reality of what I faced. Well, like I said, I rushed into a marriage, and being young, I got married to validate myself. But in doing that, I also became very promiscuous because I had to prove mentally to myself that I am a man, that I'm all what I am. And granted, the woman that I married, I loved, and I did want to be with her. And I don't regret ever getting married to this day because she's the mother of all my children and my best friend. Uh, but I was very angry, and I would lash out at her through anger by fussing. I would not physically touch her, but I was angry. Then the children, I wouldn't allow my children, like Greg said earlier, I kept an eye on my children. I didn't let them go spend the night over at their cousin's house. Their cousin wanted to spend the night, they can spend the night at my house. That way I can monitor them a whole lot better. But when they got about 15 to 16, they felt like, okay, Dad, can I go over such and such house? And I'm like, yeah, let me know. And, I'd call and check them on to make sure everything's good. But I was very protective. I was, like my wife said, I was overprotective. But she said, something is wrong with you because you're angry, you're bitter. And I finally broke down and shared my testimony with her. And of course, she felt sorry for me. And one thing, unlike most people, I don't altogether want you to feel sorry for me because then it puts me in a state of mind like, is their feelings towards the situation sincere or where is it coming from? So I shared it with her and she said, you need help and you need counseling. And I finally decided to report the incident to the military. And, the statute of limitation has passed. But, after the assault took place, I didn't see that fellow soldier around base for a while. And one day I was on guard duty and he decided to walk down the street. And I yelled out to him and he took off running like a rabbit. I could not leave my military post to pursue him. But later on in life, as he was, ETS now, I was at headquarters and he came in because he had too much paperwork and I confronted him. He knew that I was angry. But one thing I do I like my freedom. But he was an assailant and only asked me to let me kill him. And he apologized and asked him why did he do that to me. And I would not, take pleasure. Oh, you're handsome and all this. You can think that should dump you as far as I'm concerned. But I said I never knew that you were gay, and I never had a phobia about homosexuals. I knew guys that were school with me that were gay, but I never had anyone approach me or do what he did. So that was the night that I lived with, and I still reflect on it because I can regurgitate the day, the time, the location that the party was, and getting there and hearing the music, and it still is embedded in my mind. However, people think sexual assault makes you become crazy, and it doesn't. It just makes you keep you on guard, and your trust on people is very diminished. I really don't trust a lot of people. I don't hang out with anybody. People that I thought were friends, so this guy was a friend, proved otherwise. So therefore, I really feel that's about hanging out with a lot of people. Because use expression, I'm guarded. I am very much well guarded. And I do want people to know that if you became a victim, whether as a child or as an adult, there is help and there is hope. And my vice at the time was alcohol, but as I matured, I realized my vice was only in the Lord. The Lord became my strength, my comfort, and He gave me a different perspective. Now I know how to deal with people that too has become victims of the same similar incident.
One thing's for sure, Bishop, as a victim of domestic violence, and I was also assaulted by the person whom supposedly lived in my household sexually. So I understand it. People say it's different and that doesn't exist, but it does, and it really shoots you down as a human being and who you are, and trust issues, so forth, so on. And when you do open up your heart to somebody, I totally get it, and you feel betrayed or like they backstabbed you or whatever, it's hurtful and it brings that wall back up and it makes you be more cautious, even more cautious with people around you because you don't want to show that vulnerability again. I totally get it, Bishop. I admire you to tell such a heartbreaking, I'm nearly in tears story because I could never imagine what you went through, and that's for you as well as Greg. Greg, wow, it takes a lot to be able to say this happened to me, especially being a man, because there's just such a taboo that, oh, you can't talk about it. Oh, it never happened. Oh, you got to be more man, you know? But no, it is good to talk about these things, and it is good to help another bishop out there, because let me tell you guys something. Let me tell you how much God blessed this man. If you don't believe me, he always puts his videos on Lunchtime with Anna group page. Tell me if his messages are not God anointed. Okay? Our Father has led all his steps through the pain and everything. And your wife is amazing to have it walked you through all of this and been able to, for you to be able to have that relationship to say, I this happened to me, and for her to be so understanding, because some women aren't like that. Some women look at that a whole different way and will pull all kinds of other things out of the story to make it look like this is something that you wanted. And I just really have to tell you, I admire your story. It's just like, wow, heartbreaking. But at the same time, same thing as with Greg, you persevered through everything. You probably just did yourself some self-harm, because that would make sense to me. I have to prove to myself I am a man, because how did I let myself be this vulnerable and be this weak for some other man to take advantage of me? And you did nothing wrong, Bishop. And I'm sure you know this by now. You did nothing wrong. Kira, are you on air?
Yes. Excuse me. Yes.
I just want to know, because I know you're on there, and you can interrupt if you'd like, because I know you weren't able to come on screen because of your internet. But if you'd like, I'm having internet issues here in my household too. But if you'd like, you can interrupt and interject or whatever you have to do to ask whatever questions as he's going through his story.
Okay,
Is there
I just
anything
wanted
you want to add?
finish. But I do have a question for you. You mentioned that you were, angry and things like that. Your wife noticed it, and pretty much she was, excuse me, one of the reasons, at least for you, or the initial reason for you to seek counseling. So I wanted to ask, have you, and I mean, I'm sure you guys have, had that conversation on how it specifically affected her, as far as your behavior, one, and two, did you just go to counseling, or did you and your wife go, or did you do family counseling?
Well, again, my wife was a strong support for me through this. They offered counseling for my wife and I together, but I had to get past whatever issues that I was dealing with. My drinking and my abusive verbiage was a little bit more than what my wife handled. So she made several statements to me that I need to get help, and if I keep drinking, she was going to leave me. She identified how angry I was. She was trying to figure out why was I so angry or bitter, and that's how I end up explaining to her. And it did not make me feel good to tell the story. I'm in a great place now that I can talk about it. But at that time, I really did not want to talk about it. I didn't want her to think that I was weak. I didn't want anyone to think, because their intelligence can sometimes sound ignorant. And Alice said something that is so true, that individuals think, well, he must have wanted it. And I'm going to share this testimony because I served as an elected official. So I lived a normal life. I became a police officer so that I could protect those who were not strong enough to deal with a predator or a person that's going to try to assault them or anything. And then I got into politics so that I could help introduce legislation that will protect men and women from such heinous acts. But while I was serving, a employee of mine decided she wanted to try to capitalize and get financial gain and told a lie that I had harassed her. And I said, that's a lie from the pits of hell. And so that put me back into the mindset, oh man, I'm being raped again. I'm being victimized again from someone who is trying to exploit and get financial wealth from the game. And one of my colleagues asked, do I like women? And I'm like, what? I'm a married man. I love my wife, but yes, I am attracted to women, not to men. In spite of the circumstance of the situation, I was a victim. I was not a willing participant. I was drugged and taken advantage of while serving in the military. And one of the things that really upset me at the time is that they had a don't ask, don't tell policy. If you're gay, you keep it to yourself.
Yes.
But
Yes.
if we knew, or if I had known this person's behavior, not that I would ostracize myself from him, but I would be on the alert or aware. But since I didn't know, and he portrayed this type of image, but the reality was he was gay, he was attracted to me, and he wanted me. So to get me there and to drug me is a problem. That's why if I go to an event, I'm always careful about whoever gets me something to drink. I prefer to have a can or a bottle and let me be the one to open it. You know, if it's going to be a soda or something of that nature. I don't like to go anywhere and let anybody fix anything too much for me because you never know what someone's going to do. And I'm not trying to frighten anyone. I'm talking about me.
Right.
I'm talking about me and my bike.
I totally understand that part. I've, always even, shared and told my kids some of the same things that you shared with yours and told yours and the practices in terms of, when you go out.
Kira, are you there?
Yeah, yes, it sounded like it faded out, but I was just saying that I tell my kids some of the same things. Don't let anybody get you a drink. Get your own drink. If you go to the restroom, go with somebody else, and things like that. So I totally understand, and I totally agree with all of those things that you said. And I also want to, just take a second to thank you too, because not a lot of people that's been through what you've been through has, or maybe not be blessed enough to have the mindset. Let me do X, Y, and Z so that I can help somebody else and support everybody else. So that's a big deal within itself. And even in terms of your wife and your support from her, this is a big deal. And I want to just mention too that even in our communities and things like that, we need to make sure again that we pay attention to each other. We need to make sure we're not prejudging anyone when we have a conversation with them, or we see them, or just making assumptions. So I just want to, thank you for mentioning those things, because a lot of people just don't pay attention because we're so wrapped up in ourselves these days.
That is, we're so absorbed. And I think that's how we would phrase it. You're so caught up in yourself that nothing else matters. And, and this is why I really praise my wife a lot, because she was able to realize the guy that she was dating and the guy that's before her now is not the same guy. And those were some of the words that she said. What did you go through? What happened? And it took me years before I even shared the testimony with her. But I felt like God had forsaken me. I'm like, where were you, God, when I went through all this? Why did this happen? And and most people that go through some type of sexual situation, assault, or even domestic, as Anna was saying, sometimes you feel like, God, you let this man or you let this woman do this to me. I'm your child. You said you love me, but you let this happen. And really, I really was bitter. I wouldn't go to church. I knew there was a God, but I didn't think God loved me. So I'm dealing with this issue, and I just decided, okay, I'm gonna go to church one Sunday with my wife, and the preacher was preaching, and somehow or another he just said, "We go through things for a reason," and he started talking about Job. Then he went to talking about Job and all the perils that they went through, and
Absolutely.
then it came to me: we watch strong through suffering, but our suffering allows someone else to grow and live. And that's when I really started getting more in tune to the church and to the Lord. And during that time, and I was, because my wife said she's going to leave me, I slowed down drinking because I was what I call a functioning alcoholic. I can drive, I can walk straight, I can tell you a whole story without missing a beat because I drunk so much and my body had become immune to the liquor, regardless of whatever proof it was. I was just, that's how I drank. And as we move forward, that's God began to start using me a little bit more. But I still went to counseling. I still sought help outside of the church because there's only so much that the church can do and say. So therefore, it's always good to get other avenues that you can receive extra strength. And to him or her that feel like, okay, the church is all I need. Well, thank God for that too. Thank God for you. But me, I had to go through another process because sometimes even if you share the testimony with church folks, other quote saints, they begin to judge you, criticize you, question you. That's why you sometimes have to go outside of the four walls that we're accustomed to living and dealing with and deal with an outside source. And that's where I was able to get a little bit more help.
Yeah, I hear you on that 100%. It just reminds me, that the church is the body and not the building, and people get caught up on, the difference between the two. And I'm an advocate for counseling, like till there's no end. So I totally agree with what you're saying about that part as well. And, God saved you for a purpose greater than what you thought. He saves all of us for a purpose. It's just up to us whether we choose to live in and walk in it and, do what we need to do and what he tells us to do. So thank you for being obedient.
Yeah, and I thank you for that compliment. And that's something that my wife says. Little did you know that you would be the presiding bishop of an entire organization that's international. And I traveled the world ministering the gospel of Christ, trying to doing my best to try to help convert them to serve the Lord. Because everything else is going to fail, everything else is going to pass. But God gave me some strength, he gave me some understanding, he gave me some joy. And to this very day, I forgave my Satan at first now. Oh, God have mercy. But to this day, what was, what is, what's going to be, what's going to be. Greg said something that's real good. What you see standing before you today is not what I've gone through. If you've only known what I've gone through to get to where I am today, you would know and realize that there is a God, and God will give us strength to stand and to move and have our being. But if you would look at me and saw me years ago, and that's why, I think Anna Derby said, if somebody had told me I was going to be a preacher, I probably would have cut them out.
Yeah.
I always say God took me, a disgrace, and he made an amazing grace. I was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see. God, oh, don't you even get me started.
Keep on.
Amen. Amen. Because you know what? And my story is very similar, as I'm sure Kira's story is very similar. Only he was the one that was able, and people wonder why my faith is so strong. Only he was the one that was able to pull me away from a lot of my thoughts. The story is just like I'm just wowed at the beautiful wife. I mean, and I have to do this. Round of applause to Mrs. Adams, because let me tell you something. It takes a good woman. It takes a Christian woman to support her husband and guide him to the right steps. Because I know so many other women that would do things so different. but that's what it takes for you to be done like that. How many women do we not know? We saw a live where a woman was getting raped here at a club in Atlanta. um, this was actually recorded because she was having problems with her husband. Somebody put something in her drink. The guy is raping her on the dance floor. Not one person stood in between. Not one person did anything. And this is the type of thing that happens. Okay, so it does happen. And just to think, we're talking about men, but to think that someone would take advantage of someone in that way, Greg, it's just unbelievable. Now, I know you do have an organization, which I do before we get off air. I do want you, if you could right now, talk about your organization, talk about what it is about, and how you and your wife have built this organization and help other men around and or children.
So the organization that you're speaking of is called Drill Mentoring. Drill Mentoring is designed to assist and help the young people that may be going through situations. We're registered with the Secretary of State, and it was a program that my oldest son, who is a doctor, he graduated from Washington School of Medicine, he has a PhD, and he works in Washington, D.C. at NIH with Dr. Fauci. But we put this program together so that we can help steer these young men and women in the path of rightness, because everything else is pulling them away from having structure and standards. So we sacrifice our time to help them along the way. We are not for profit. We do take donations, but we don't require the young people to pay anything to be a part of our group. We have mentored so many that have graduated from high school and gone on to college. Some have gone to trade school, taking up trades, and some have gone into the military. But I always look at it like this. It takes that village, and I'm a part of the village. And I want to help steer these young men and young women in the path of rightness because they're young and tender branches and trees growing up. And I want them to grow up straight. And I was telling them, what you do will tell on you in the end. So if you walk upright, you don't have to worry about no crooked way. And that's what we strive to do. And I appreciate my wife and my oldest son, who had my son and I had the vision. We just had a conversation. And then my wife, she said, well, let's put it to action. And she did. I would say this, and I can brag about it because she's mine, just like she'll brag about me. I think I have my my virtuous woman. I believe
That's right.
King of Hollywood referred to Esther as such, and I believe I can refer to mine as mine. So I appreciate her for everything she has done. But I'll say this: we do appreciate Anna and her passion for humanity. She cries out for people, and she tries her best to help as many people as she possibly can. And this is what I've come to know about her. So I appreciate her for inviting me on. I'm glad I was able to tell my story, and I hope that I can help somebody else. And I'm reminded that Johnny McClurkin was sexually assaulted or molested as a child. Tyler Perry went through the same thing, and they turned out to be great entertainers. Lady Gaga, she thought about committing suicide. So it's not just him, them, and they. It's a plethora of people that have become victims to violence and ignorance. That a predator, with being selfish, would try to inflict on any man, woman, boy, girl. And
that's right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Bishop. Before getting off air, I want you to stay online real quick. Kira, if you could give your Wind Up Wednesday real quick. I'd like to thank you, Bishop. This show, I can go on for round 2. And thank you for that compliment, because that is the human that I try being the best that I can to make this world a better place. That is truly who I am. And you have to get to know me to know that. There's never bad intentions, not an inch of it. Kira, go ahead with your Wind Up Wednesday.
I'll make it quick. Just in hearing Greg and Bishop talk, my Wind Up Wednesday words for today is courage, healing, and purpose. And I hope that people go back and listen to this show and then hear courage, healing, and purpose. and be able to apply it to their own lives. I do again want to say thank you, not just for sharing your story, but for what you're doing, for allowing God to use you, not just you, but your children and your wife, and just being a true man of God. I really appreciate it.
And
Thanks
one
so
more
much.
thing, Bishop, if you could give the name of your organization and how you can be reached. Kira, thank you for that. If you could, Kira, before getting off, give your contact information, and you as well, Bishop, before we get off air.
Okay. You guys know you can reach me Instagram. I am Kira Devon, or my website, kiradevon.com.
Go ahead,
And
Bishop.
organization back then, the carnal organization is Drill Mentoring, DRLL, Drill Mentoring, and we reach out to all kind of youth, and we tell you, please feel free to reach out to us. My contact number is 404-408-5540, and my church is Restoration in Christ International Ministries. So always feel free to reach out.
I wanted to thank you, Bishop, and thank Greg Giles, and also thank you, Kira, for taking out of your Wednesday to come on my show, because I know you usually just do that segment. This has been an outstanding show. Please share it with somebody, because this is what it's about. I don't care about anything else. All I care about is saving somebody. If you would like to make a donation, make it to his organization, because it's going to good cause, and it's going to a good place, and it's going to help other people. God bless each and every one of you guys. I will see you guys next Wednesday, same time. And God bless each and every one of you guys. Love you guys. Next week. Ciao.